Welcome to the Flag to Flag Media YouTube channel. This is the Hot Pit segment presented by Water Warrior Restoration. And in today's Hot Pit, our guest is going to be Ryan Bowling, owner of Dirt to Media. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of live streaming at racing events all across the country. So let's talk about it. All right, welcome to this episode of the Hot Pit. In the Hot Pit today, we have the co-owner of Dirt to Media, Ryan Bowling. Ryan, first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to joining me in this episode. So thank you for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always great to get on with you guys anytime we can.
Um, Obviously, the title of this is streaming. You're into the streaming game now with Dirt to Media. So let's get started and get the ball rolling with how you got started in the streaming business, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So I guess you go back to 2012. I started videoing at Brownstown Speedway. Just picked up a camera with Mark Schaefer, and we kind of we didn't really know what we were doing, and then just started videoing races and getting interviews and stuff with drivers. Um, that was within the Fastlane Productions back at that time. And really my work just started getting noticed. At the time, in 2012, 13, 14, Dirt on Dirt was becoming like massively popular with video, and this is back before live streaming actually. And there was a few other media outlets that just had noticed my video work, and I started contributing to their sites as well. And eventually started traveling on more of a full-time basis with Dirt on Dirt and some of the other guys out there. And uh, I forget exactly when I worked my first live show. I do know that um, it was at Eldora. It might have been the Dream, I guess, was kind of the first live show I worked, and man, just the thrill that I got from it, just working a live event was incredible. And from there, I worked, several Dreams in the Worlds and Knoxville and then some of these big shows. Just I was just doing video work, but on a live broadcast, and really got me intrigued about the whole industry as a whole, and it was really starting to explode at that time. And just one thing kind of led to another. And in 2018, I stepped away from all that and started Dirt 2 Media. At that point, we were still just doing on-demand video. I believe 2019 was our first live broadcast at Brownstown. So it was really cool to take all that I had learned, from working with other people and kind of bring it down to a more of a grassroots weekly level. And from there, it's all just started there basically. So
Right. So going into now, because I know this is going to be, typically try to stick between 20 and 30 minutes, but this
mhm.
is a hot topic among all media outlets all over the country right now with streaming services and pay-per-view events. So we'll start diving into a little bit of that. So all that you guys got started, plus, with Dirt on Dirt Flow and all that stuff. What's some benefits that you've seen out of the streaming industry?
And I think the overall exposure is the biggest benefit right now. I say right now, but as a whole, the exposure is everything. You take an event. I'll use the Jackson 100 for an example. I forget what year that was. The first live stream that I know it was Bobby Pierce and Davenport race like side. It was on a Sunday, like a day race, and they were side by side for it seemed like forever. And that to me, like I obviously I'm on the media and the streaming side of things, so to me, like that helped that event. Kind of not that it was in any not in a bad spot, but it really that next year you could see the crowd just showed up for it because it was literally like one of the races of the year. And people would have caught highlights the next day of that race, but I think there were so many people watching on that Sunday, watching it live, and were invested into this event that it just exploded. And we see that, like our business right now, we're so heavily into the micro sprint industry across the country. And it's a different, you, the fan base is not anywhere near what late model and sprint car racing, you know, what their following is. But we benefit that industry in the way of drivers are out in Pennsylvania, or they're in Missouri, or wherever they're at. They're 5, 6 hours, 10 hours from where we're at in Indiana. And we stream weekly at US 24 up in Logansport, Indiana. And we have been able to show other parts of the country what US 24 Speedway is. There was minimal coverage of the place up until we rolled in. And now I'm not don't want to sound like I'm taking credit
Right.
for where they're at, but we've brought in exposure that has helped their car counts on regional events, and just across the board. People know what US 24 Speedway is now. And that's really what our primary focus is just trying to get the exposure out there. That's the biggest benefit I see. Yeah, I mean, we're allowing people who can't make it, like grandparents and family members and friends, to be able to watch these events. But um, just it's all comes down to exposure. We got to get as many eyes on this product as we possibly can.
I think a lot going, talking to a lot of drivers and track promoters and stuff. The streaming stuff for sponsors has been huge because, like you said, the exposure and if they can get their name on TV or whatever, I think it's huge for sponsorships.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we get emails, and it's kind of hard for us to always answer. And people do get a little bit aggravated with me at times, I think, because we'll get an email of a driver or whatever trying to put together a proposal. And they're doing the right thing by including in their sponsorship proposals. They're like, hey, at the track, we've got X amount of people at the track watching, but we've also got an online viewership. So that's absolutely the right thing to do, and I love to see it. Um, we're just not able to say, hey, we've got X amount of people watching this event. We're a private business, and we've got to kind of protect certain things. But um, absolutely, like tracks and drivers and everybody needs to be using this as a tool. It's
Absolutely.
extra eyes. And I tell all the tracks we're partnered with, like, hey, when you go to this sponsor, and a lot of proposals will just have kind of ballpark what they've got coming in the gate, and they use the online numbers as well. You say that we've got a streaming service that with subscribers across the country or the world or whatever it is. And you got to use all that to your advantage. And obviously the big misconception is the at track attendance. And I say it's a misconception because there are instances, don't get me wrong, where has it affected attendance? Yes, I think it has. There's I can think of a handful right now of tracks that they lost that 2 to 3 hour away crowd. That was a very good market. They would travel 2 to 3 hours on a whatever to come watch a race. And now with streaming, obviously, if you catch some weather or you catch a day that's not perfect, people will stay home. Just the
Right.
icebreaker, for instance. Like, I wasn't there, but I heard attendance was down a little bit from what was expected. And the streaming attendance was likely up. So there are concerns that I think that need to be looked at. But I think it comes down to, and I go back to, it comes down to your partnership with your streaming provider. And we try to um, pass along every single penny we possibly can that track deserves. And which it gets challenging because we've got several relationships that we're kind of on the bad side of, as a business. We're taking care of the track to a point where we're losing money on certain things, and that gets tough, when you're trying to run a business. But the longevity of it all, I just think that by us contributing as much as we possibly can, it's going to be the right partnership for a lot of our, a lot of the tracks we service. And but yeah, I mean, the attendance, obviously, I'm kind of rambling here a little bit,
Oh
but the
yeah, that's all
attendance,
good information though.
yeah, the attendance is something that needs to be, people need to be mindful of, um, but I think here recently we've, as far as Dirt 2 Media goes, we've had events that, things are kind of going in the opposite direction as far as our viewership for certain events. And part of that could be because we've really narrowed ourselves down onto, kind of a niche in the motorsports industry with the micro sprints. Like our micro sprint numbers are going up, whereas some of our other numbers might be going down, depending on what it is. And part of that's just because, how our marketing works and everything. But there's events now that shouldn't be streamed. I mean, that's the reality of it. When COVID was here, we were streaming every event that
Right.
you could think of. Like if there was a race that was being streamed somewhere,
Right.
somebody had it. Um, that now that's just not the case, and now that things have kind of gotten back to normal, I guess I should say. There's events that, I mean, we lose money streaming on them, and I think that's why you've seen, some of your larger streaming providers pulling out of more local and weekly racing is we can't consistently be losing money on these events. And as far as weekly racing goes, like, I think people need to go to the tracks. I mean, they don't need to sit at home and watch every race,
Right.
and it sounds kind of weird because, yeah, we stream tracks weekly, and that's our business. But as a race fan, um there's events that shouldn't be streamed. I mean, they just shouldn't be. And
There's a
um
cost to that, right? I mean,
yeah, I
you
mean, there's
it's not
there's
like
definitely,
it's not like it's free. I mean,
no,
streaming companies, there's a cost to them, just like running any other business. There's a
no,
cost to them to go do that. So if it's not making sense financially for them,
right.
I mean, you can't do everything, right?
No, and as a business, like, we, right now with the state that the country's in, um, it's expensive to do anything. It's you just driving, just our travel expenses alone for as small as a crew of we got is astronomical. Like, it makes me sick to see, we're sitting here in just, yeah, we're in April now. We've already probably done, I don't know, between 20 and 30 races this year. We've already put in, some work, and just looking at what our travel expenses this year alone have been is already scary.
Right.
Hotels and fuel and just everything. And I pay our guys well. I don't skimp on our wages, because these our guys are, they're dedicating their time and everything to this. And we've got a couple guys on a full-time basis, and this is their livelihood. And I we got to take care of that side of things first, to have a broadcast. And then obviously you get the expenses paid on just the traveling and your payroll. And then you've got shows that, when they run 6, 8, 10 hours for a show, that's costing us money, and
Right.
bandwidth and internet connection and everything. Like, it just, it adds up. And um then you've got that, and then you've got to pay, the royalties out to the track or the series or whatever your situation is with that partner. um so you're just hoping by the time you get all that paid out that there's enough left over just to help run your business too.
Right.
I mean, there's other expenses within the business that, as it's just all these things add up. Just your marketing budget. It takes time to sit and design graphics. And we pay, I've got a full-time guy that does a lot of our graphics and our commercials, and just all the stuff on the back end costs money. And it gets tough, and we've got, luckily, we're fortunate to have some, partnerships and events and different things that do really well for us, and very thankful for those. But as of late, we've had some, things not go very well. As a business right now, just to be transparent, like, I'm not happy with where we're at as a business right now. It's just, we've grown so much and so quickly that, with that, it's just brought so many challenges with it.
Right.
We there's way more money coming in, but there's way more money going out with that, and so we're constantly, I'm beating my head against the wall every day, just trying to find, the method that, some sort of combination of everything that works for everybody. We can still operate our business. The tracks can get what they need out of the deal, and it gets tough. It's we're not working with a big budget at all. You've got, obviously, your Flow and Dirt Vision. They're working with a big budget.
Right.
But they've also got, the highest profile events that racing has to offer too, dirt racing, and those events do well numbers wise, and they're able to, retain a large subscriber rate because of these events. And we're out here just trying to kind of, piece it all together, and we're, um, you know it, we hear it all the time. If it's not on Flow, or if it's not on Dirt Vision, or if it's not this, then we're not watching it. We're not paying for another streaming service. And I get it. Like, I do, as a race fan, I wouldn't either. It's, so we have that challenge that, people's money's tight, and we're fortunate enough to have a good subscriber base. Like, it's not where I want it, but it's something to be proud of, and I'm very thankful for it. But um, it's just, eh, I could go. I mean, we could go a million different
Yeah.
directions with this,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it
We
just
talked
it's
about
just
before. That's usually try to keep it,
yeah,
but it's one of those deals where
yeah,
you see it on social media. There's so much negativity around
yes,
streaming services and people
yeah,
complaining. And I'm just going to say it. People complain about,
yeah,
and I'm the same way. I get it. Flow, Dirt Vision, XR. You have Hunt the Front. You have
yeah,
all these streaming services, but I think what it boils down to is you got to pick and choose what you want to watch, right? Like you said,
yep,
your niche is the micro sprint world. Well, I mean, if that's what you're into, then Dirt to Media is the place to go. If you're into,
yep,
the mainstream stuff, then Flow, Dirt Vision, that type of stuff. So a
yeah.
lot of
No,
it just
you're
depends where you want to go.
right. You're exactly right there, and you would think that would be understood a little better,
It's not.
than I think it is, but it's not.
It's
It's
not.
really not. And then we've got situations, over the past couple weeks, for people who are, Dirt to Media subscribers or follow our socials and all that. We've had events that aren't included in our monthly subscription. And people subscribe to, our website, and just under the assumption that they're getting everything. So some of our relationships with tracks are not set up that way. We work on, we take the tracks, their needs in consideration first. And some of our tracks said, hey, we only want pay-per-view, and we come up with a deal. They get a percentage of our sales right off the top, and that's how they want to operate. And if we don't operate that way, those races don't get streamed, and um, every once in a while, I'll get kind of aggravated in my emotions with some of the comments we see. And, um, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, there was, a couple people in the inbox that was, they were getting under my skin a little bit. And I said, look, we won't stream next year. We won't do the events.
Right.
You
Right.
won't watch them. Nobody will see them. You can go to the
That's
track,
my biggest.
and
That's my
yeah,
biggest fear as a race fan is that's with all the negativity. That's what's going to end up happening.
yeah, yeah. And it's, I mean, honestly, like, is it frustrating for me? Yes, because I want to bring as much value to that monthly subscription as we possibly can. And the more events I can get, the higher profile events we can get on that subscription, the better it is. But with that being said, we're still going to do what's right for our partners first. And if our I always offer that situation first. Here's what we can do with our subscription. We can we can basically guarantee the track a flat rate of money each, for each event. Special events obviously get more money than just a weekly show. But if those numbers don't align, with what they want to do, then we go to a pay-per-view option and say, look, um, basically we let the track set the pricing of that pay-per-view package, and um, and that's another thing that it always just interests me is, general admission to an event, it might be 25 bucks, whatever it is. And, we always take our price up a little bit above that. If we go the pay-per-view route, we never, never go less than what it costs to get in the gate on a pay-per-view show. And we'll literally, the inbox will start filling up. I'm not paying $30 to watch this race. I'm like, so, you would go to the track and spend 25 plus, everything else you're going to spend the money on, which
Right.
is great for the track, and it's needed. But just people's logic sometimes is it's interesting to me. But that all comes from, just what our situation is with the track. I mean, it's the fairest way that we can, at the end of the night, that track gets a report of everybody who watched, where you lived, what your email address is. They get all that, and
Right.
that's, they get the transparency of seeing who was watching the event, and they can see, if there was too many people watching that were, you know, 10, 20 minutes from the track, then that obviously is not a good look,
Right.
so, it's a constant, it's ever evolving, it's constantly changing. Right when I think we do kind of have a good system down, there's, something changes, and, there's a lot that goes into it. But we just try to push the exposure of everything, and we try to be a good partner in regards to, just bringing value to what each, tracker series is doing, and
Right.
it's something we've been doing more of, here recently is, just for example, up at US 24, I'll mention them again. They build a new concession stand. So we're putting, or they installed, TV monitors around the concession stand. We'll be, feeding a live feed to that, to those TV monitors. That way, when people are in line at the concession stand, they can watch the racing. They don't have to miss anything. So we try to look at ways of bringing value like that as well. And we don't want to be just a streaming company. We want to try to just make the experience as good as possible. And
Right.
not just with our streaming, but, help that track with other things as well. I like, at Salem Speedway, they really like having, you know, a, they have a monitor at race control, and we can send them replays of things that happen on the track. And, there's just a lot of extras like that we try to do, to benefit the track in addition to, just the streaming dollars.
I'm kind of glad you did bring up that point though, because after an event, a lot of people know that you and I work closely together whenever we can. And I had a lot of people questioning me about, well, I have a subscription, but this race wasn't on the subscription, whatever. And then, I obviously don't get into any of that on the Dirt to Media side, but, it's a point of there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. A lot of people that people don't know, including myself. I mean, you and I have talked some off air before about stuff, but there's so much that's involved in all of that streaming aspect that the race fan just, and I don't mean it in a negative way. I'm just saying, like, just there's so much that goes on that people just have no clue about. So
Hmm.
I'm glad you brought that up, because yeah, just because you have a subscription, that doesn't mean that that's the way the streaming service and the track have it worked out, right? I mean, that's not really anything that you can do.
Yeah, and that's stuff that, and we did. I try to look at those instances, like our, some of our verbiage and things on our website. I can see why there was some confusion. So, we've went in and kind of changed, how things are, worded, and trying to just continuously make it, more, um, just more transparent about what's going on. And, um, it does get confusing. It's only going to get worse too. Just I don't even know the full situation with NASCAR. Like I don't know if it starts like next year or when it starts, but there's going to be a ton of streaming options for to watch NASCAR now.
Right.
So that just goes to show like it's happening everywhere. And you've had Flow is pulling out of a lot of their weekly and smaller regional events, and you know there's not an abundance of. I mean, there's a lot of streaming companies, but there's not an abundance out there that's going to pick all these shows up. I mean,
Right.
they've been streamed in the past, but we physically, cannot pick all these shows up. It just it the numbers don't support it for one, and two, just we can't get enough people to work to go do it.
Right. Right.
We'll stream 3, 4, 5 events a weekend, and we could stream 10 events if I had the manpower to do it, and if some of these events would support the investment. But you just I mean, we don't have to dive too deep into the numbers, but just a simple show, when we run a one camera single man show like at Brownstown with there's no extras. Like when you're watching that stream, and this ain't just at Brownstown, it's other tracks too. But if you're watching one of our most basic broadcasts, we've got. I'm gonna say we're pushing $7,500 worth of equipment at that track. It for a simple broadcast. And your camera guy's getting paid, um, a couple $100 at least. Plus any travel fees that were incurred, and then you're still paying your internet and everything on top of that, and then you're paying your track out too. So I mean, you know, I don't like having those simple shows. I'd like to have a built out amazing broadcast at
Right.
everything we do. But it's just the numbers don't always support it, and um, so that's why we're getting more strategic about, if you see a broadcast that's got more bells and whistles, it's because the viewership is helping pay for that.
Right.
Um, so that's the part people don't always see. I mean, we've got full capability to. I mean, we could run a 10 camera broadcast with. I mean, we could literally go all out. We've had broadcasts with drones chasing cars and pre-race shows and you know all these cameras and everything, but that comes with such an expense that it's just not always. It doesn't make sense.
Oh, he's right.
Yeah. So I mean, we've had some broadcasts that just just the my input costs have been tens of thousands of dollars,
Right.
and it's when you sit back and look at it, yeah, it was really cool, it was a good show, but did the numbers support it? Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Are
So
you saving that 10 camera deal for Thunder Valley?
that's yeah, and that's where it's really going to get interesting with streaming,
Right.
because and I might eat my words. I don't know. But obviously, in that situation with us, you know, being the track promoter, paying the bills at the track, having a streaming company, I'm gonna throw a lot more ideas at things that we currently don't do. I mean, I think that um, there's a lot of stuff that I do want to try just to see how it works, what it does. So we're gonna be able to take that gamble, but who's to say that we might be having this conversation after our first, full season at Thunder Valley. So let's fast forward to 2026. Let's have this
Right.
conversation again about Thunder Valley, and I don't know what my mindset will be at that point. I think that there's a lot of things we can do for weekly racing. It's just a matter of you know you can't always worry about losing some fan base at the track if you've got some ways of making it up on the other side. So
Right.
I don't know, like there's a lot of moving pieces like we've mentioned, but Thunder Valley is going to be an exception though. We're going to do some different stuff there and just see how it works. And the thing is, what's exciting is if it does work and some of the stuff I want to do, and we can prove that it works, then we can take that to our other our other tracks too, and say, hey,
Absolutely.
here's some real world data from our track of what we did, and I think it'll work here. So it's going to be cool to have that experience and just see what works, and who knows, we might decide we don't want live streaming at all. I don't know, but
Right.
it's an interesting world. It's going to people are already seeing the changes, but I think it's going to become even more noticeable over the next 2 to 3 years. um, I think that your high profile events are always, they're always going to be, what they are. But that market underneath is going to be interesting. I look for there to be less streaming, on a weekly basis, just because a lot of these smaller streaming companies like myself and, some of the other ones that spun off of COVID and everything, once we've got more into this real world situations, it's business is not the same. It's not, you know, we operated so much differently during COVID, and
Right.
that year afterwards. I mean, everybody was doing well in the streaming industry. Like, it was a booming industry, and so now you're really seeing who was able to adapt to, or who is adapting to the changes, and who's adapting to um, the market. And those are the companies that are going to keep things, keep going with streaming. And some of your other guys are going to say, man, we're not making any money, we're not going to do this anymore, and you won't be able to watch all these races. And
Right.
you're
Exactly.
already seeing it, but I think it's only going to get worse.
Right. So I just want to thank you for coming on and talking about this. Like I said, I didn't want to keep you all night, but I think
Oh, you're good.
it was definitely a topic that really needed to be discussed, because it's in the mainstream right now, right? I mean, with going back with Flow dropping some stuff, some of these other streaming services picking up, and they're just, like you said, we could sit on here and talk about this for 3 or 4 hours, obviously,
Yeah,
but
that's yeah.
I
Honestly, like, I've rambled because I could take it down so many rabbit holes of, like,
right,
do we want to spend an hour on this, or do we want to keep it short? But yeah,
right,
you're right. I mean, it's something that I think that you can revisit. We can have this conversation. You know, we can have this conversation in 6 months, and it's possible that it's
totally
things
different.
are
Yeah,
totally different.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting topic, and something that um, you can stay on top of, and we'll see where it all goes. But um, we're still full bore. We're going after it. I really want to um, increase our local coverage of what we started with. But it's just as with what you're doing, it's hard
right.
to grow, and
It
and
is.
um, we've had these conversations about just even growing a YouTube channel with no subscription costs or anything. That's hard.
Right,
So
right.
obviously, when you add that cost in there, it gets even harder. So um, it's just a constant battle of just knowing what a society wants, what their habits are, what they like to see, what they
Right.
don't like to see, and
And like
and
we talked about before,
yeah.
it's hard because there's so many racing media, YouTube channels out
Mhm.
there. It's hard to, everybody's got in-car coverage. Everybody's got driver interviews. Everybody's got, whatever. But
Yeah. And that's one thing
it's
that
just hard.
that I'm, when I say that we've got ideas that we're kind of wanting to throw, at Thunder Valley, like, and I'll go back to me beating my head against the wall about my business is, we, in the grand scheme of things, anybody can do what Dirt 2 Media is doing right now. It's not hard. Like, it's, you
Right.
buy some equipment, you get an internet connection, you send it out to the internet, people watch it,
Right.
and that's fine, that's great. But us as a business, if we're really going to move the needle, we got to figure out what's next. What's the we got to be innovative. We got to figure out, there's only so much you can do. too, within a budget, and there's only so much you can do, but we got to figure out how to come up with that next, thing that people are like, wow, like, yes, I want to be involved with this,
Right.
and that's the struggle right now is just trying to constantly be innovative, and we're kind of honestly, like, we're kind of quiet right now with, or I consider Dirt 2 Media to be quiet right now because we're just kind of taking a year here. I mean, we're busy. It's still full bore, but me personally, I'm taking a year here just to kind of just regroup myself and
Catch your breath type thing.
figure out what's next,
Right.
um, and we there might not be a solution to it. I don't know. We might just be what we are right now, and if that's the case, like, it's not a bad thing, but I want more out of our, not only our business, but I want to do more to, just benefit racing in general. I mean, that's
Right.
the ultimate goal here. We're running a business, yes, but without racing, we don't have a business. So we got to figure out how to, um, do right to racing, and then our business will, it'll take care of itself on the back end. But so yeah, I mean, it's like anything,
Right.
it's you got to constantly keep up with the times, and try to be innovative, and that's all you can do.
Yep. All right, Ryan, I appreciate. Where can people go find all your content at? I'm going to give you
Yeah.
time.
So, I mean, obviously, all of our live and on-demand coverage is at dirt2media.tv. The monthly subscription will give you access to all the replay content. So, um, even if it is a pay-per-view show, that monthly subscription will give you access, to watch the show after the fact. So that is one benefit that that is nice that we're able to work out. On the pay-per-view events, you do have access to that replay for 30 days typically, and then it falls, just solely on our subscription. So dirt2media.tv is where you see all that. Um, then obviously we post highlights and different content to our, our Facebook, and Instagram is kind of becoming a more popular thing for us right now. It's booming. Both of those are just at Dirt2Media, and our Twitter, I believe, is at Dirt2Media as well. We don't do a whole lot with Twitter right now. I mean, we post to it, but it just doesn't have much traction. But then we've got our YouTube channel as well, which, admittedly, I've kind of neglected, but we're going to start doing more with that too. Um, to try to move that needle a little more. But basically, everything's at Dirt2Media on most of the channels we're on. So
And I'll link a lot of those in the description to below so people can get to them.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the hot pit. I knew it was going to be a hot topic, so that's why I wanted to bring you on. And I don't know, we might revisit it in 6 months. I don't know. We'll see
Yeah,
where
no,
things
I think
go.
so. I think it's something that we can, revisit because, I appreciate you having me on tonight. I feel like I hope I gave a little bit of insight, but I feel like I was a little bit scattered just because there's so much to cover, and
Yes.
there's, like I said, we are a private business, and it's hard to dive deep into the numbers and really, just throw it all out there for
Right.
everyone to make
Right.
perfect sense of it. But hopefully this, kind of gets, the idea out there a little bit of what we're up against. And but yeah, no, I think it's something definitely we can look at, again in the future.
Okay. All right, everybody stay tuned for part 2 with Ryan Bowling at Dirt the Media. It'll be coming out sometime, I don't know, 6 months. So Ryan,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the next one.
Yep. Thank you, Matt.